Well, welcome back, and I've just been out and I've done some shots with some Pancro 400 last week. I was meant to film with this camera. Unfortunately, I took the camera, but I didn't put the memory back in, so I was unable to film what I was doing. And the initial idea was to do parts of King's Cross and then to go on to Brick Lane. Now, I did take some shots in King's Cross and Brick Lane, not as many as I'd liked. So some of the shots were then later done back in Bedford. So, is it a film that I like? It's a bit of a yes and no, and you're going to see some of the photographs as I talk through this. I did like it. It is high grain, high contrast, but it really has a huge lacking when it comes to whites. For some reason, they just seem muddy, and that was a real problem to me. So I'm going to go through now with you at home on the computer the reasons why, and actually show you some of the photographs and why I don't think they're that good. And I've got some colour comparisons I did, so you can actually see what the colours were like on a few of the shots as well. So there you go. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some of the results from me taking some Bergger Pancro. I just wanted to show you a shot first that's in colour, and this is Fuji C200. It was taken on the same day in the same conditions as the Bergger Pancro was, and the actual film is an expired film, so I don't know how good the colour rendition is, but we'll just zoom in and have a look anyway. And so these are all the colours you see, and what I've done is, if I close this down, you'll see I've put the black and white against the colour film. And I'm just really disappointed with this film. Looking at it now, looking at it a second time, it just seems quite flat. Although there's quite a strong contrast, it also has a flatness about it, and that's a contradiction, isn't it? Anyway, that's how I found the film, and the reason I've done this is so you actually see the difference in between the colour and then its equivalent shade in the grayscale. And yeah, it's actually quite disappointing. But when you look at the shot, by itself, I mean, that doesn't actually look too bad again, but it lacks. I think this thing I found with it is the whites are really quite poor. So I did a couple of studio shots, and I'll just show you this one here. And lighting was correct, lighting was right on it. But when you zoom in, and you can see at the whites just how dirty the whites are. I know I've come in really close, but even from a distance, if I zoom that back out, you actually see it's really quite dirty. They're not really that strong whites at all. So this one's more than this here, but it's still quite dirty as the way of white goes. So I did some shots down Brick Lane, and the Boris Johnson ones were on the opposite side of the road to this one, and this was really quite white around here, and these two buttons here were really glowing. So it's actually, I don't know, I'm just not overly impressed by this at all. The grain is obviously quite high, even for a 400 film. So when you looked at that shot of the Nivea for Men, you could see how strong the grain was. But I took some shots by some Pancris, and if I think is it this one? Not that one. Let's bring up. Where's the one? And it was really. Oh, it was these ones. These ones I did here. You can see how strong the grain is on these shots, and it was a bright blue sky with a little bit of cloud, and it looks really quite, I mean, even for a 400, that's really grainy. So let's come back out on that. So let's go through some of the shots I took, and these ones were by King's Cross Station, and they're all right. There's nothing spectacular about it. This was in shade on the left hand side here. Brilliant blue sky. And you can really see, I mean, how big the grain is. Now, I did actually develop this in Rodinal, and I think that may be where my problem lies. So I know that some films work really well in Rodinal and others don't, and I think this is one of the ones that actually don't. And I reckon if I'd done another film and say developed in ID11, I think I'll get a slightly or a different result with less grain. Let's have a couple more shots, and let's go to here. And this was just behind Brick Lane by a railway line, and there was a whole lot of graffiti going on. So I thought I'd get a shot of that, and that looks quite nice. It's really acceptable. You know, I don't think this was white though. I think this was actually like a silvery colour, this bit here. So I don't really recall. I did take a few colour shots of this area as well. I'll show you in a second. And this one here, this one looks actually quite good. So if I zoom in, yeah, that's not bad. And anything, actually the funny thing is, this is my favourite shot of the day, and I was trying to get these guys out of focus and this in focus by itself, but although it's a nice shot and I like this here and I like the guys walking away, it really looks quite flat, and I was expecting more from it. So will I use this film again? I'm going to have another go with it and try it in a different developer and see if I get any better results. Then I can do another comparison. But this isn't necessarily a film I would go for again, other than the fact that to see if I can get a better result with it. This wouldn't be like a film I'd go to regularly. But it was fun playing around anyway. I just want to take a look at some of the other shots I took on the day. And this one was actually in Brick Lane. And I literally just walking along and I saw this group of people, and especially the guy in the middle there with the hat and the feather. I just thought it looked really, really cool. I don't know what they were doing. Could have been something, you know, I don't know. But yeah, so that's one I actually quite like, and there's actually quite a nice depth to it with the different shades and tones. So there's that one. So I've also got this little Agfa Optima sensor, and it doesn't work, but I thought make a nice shot. I've actually got another one on order that's meant to work, so I'll hopefully go out and do some photographs for that in the next few days to show you. But you can see it's, I don't know, as I say, it was quite difficult to meter because I actually had the light on the base here to give it a little bit more brightness, but it just doesn't seem to work very well. That's probably down to me rather than the actual film. And what else have I got? Oh, I did show you these before, but obviously the skyline. I have some colour ones of these, and I'm going to show you those now as well. So here are two photographs I did of that same skyline, one in landscape, one in portrait. And how is it? I can never get this. How is it that somebody can just all of a sudden bring out a chair and just sit right in the middle of your frame? And this is really quite funny. If you actually look closely down here, look at this. And he sat there wearing a mask outside, and I'm like, oh dear. Anyway, but that's more fun than anything else. So I took that one. I think it's the next frame, and there's the next one. But remember, this is actually expired C200 film. It's about 15 years old? So it was I exposed it at 80 ISO rather than 200. But I'm still getting nice results with it. But this is part of like another project I'm doing. So I was just literally testing a camera, and that camera is going to be revealed in the next few days, and the cost and why I bought it and those sort of things. But you can still see it's clearly quite sharp, what I was using, but it remains a mystery until then. But one of the things that I will discuss is its bokeh is a bit ugh. So anyway, I've done a colour and black and white film for that camera, and I'll do a review on that, as I say, in the next few days. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.